For years, Brock Lesnar has been vocally and unrestrainedly criticizing Hulk Hogan.
What you gonna do, Hulkster? Party's over, Grandpa.
Lesnar has reportedly disclosed fresh proof that reveals Hulk Hogan to be the monster he truly was. The crazy thing is that we were also forewarned by Hulk's ex-wife.
He's a complete liar. He is a...
Even more bizarre is this new information, which could completely alter your perception of Hulk Hogan. The actual beef between Hulk Hogan and Brock Lesnar. The Rock and Stone Cold are the first people most wrestling fans think of when they hear of legendary feuds. Perhaps Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan. However, one feud has been brewing for more than 2 decades. In all honesty, it may be the most fascinating of them all. Brock Lesnar and Hulk Hogan, 2 of wrestling's most well-known figures, are involved. What began as a fictitious drama turned into something very genuine. And after considering all the available data, I believe Lesnar was correct about Hogan from the start. It all began in the summer of 2002. Brock Lesnar was being pushed hard by WWE. He was referred to as the next big thing. The man was young, powerful, intimidating, and poised to assume control. Woo wished for him to win the title by defeating The Rock. He had to establish himself against well-known people first, though. This is where Hulk Hogan entered the picture. After a long absence, Hogan had recently rejoined WWE. He was a great legend that Lesnar could ruin, making him the ideal target. The manager of Lesnar at the time was Paul Heyman. He has always had a talent for creating plots. Lesnar would taunt Hogan week after week. The most memorable part was when he took over Hogan's limousine. It was evident that the contempt wasn't merely lip service. Hogan finally had enough. He issued a match challenge to Lesnar. Stephanie McMahon officially announced the SmackDown for August 8, 2002. Wrestling 101 was intended to be this. Hogan had already made the decision to put over Lesnar since the old legend aids newer by losing to him. Then, however, everything became a mess. Lesnar quickly established authority as the bell rang. He sent the Hulkster's trademark bandana flying. When he threw Hogan across the ring during their first lockup, Hogan was outmatched in strength and was nursing ailments. Yet he was still able to make a few hard shots during the game. Still, the action was mostly under Lesnar's control. Lesnar's dominance was demonstrated during the match. This was a match between a 49-year-old legend and a 25-year-old NCAA wrestling champion. It was far from it. Lesnar totally subdued Hogan with his genuine athletic abilities. His history as an amateur wrestler was clear. While Hogan appeared to be an elderly celebrity attempting to stay relevant, he moved like a real athlete. The conclusion was harsh. When Hogan's signature leg drop was interrupted by Paul Heyman, Lesnar engaged in a brutal bear hug that went straight for Hogan's already frail ribs. After Hogan passed out, the referee finally halted the bout, giving Lesnar the victory via knockout. Lesnar was not done, however. Snatching up a steel chair, he smashed it into Hogan's head and splashed the legend's blood on his chest. Fans were shocked and incensed by this cruel statement. There was more to it than a match. On Lesnar's terms, it was a violent, symbolic passing of the torch. The match was successful from a business perspective. After defeating The Rock, Lesnar became the youngest WWE champion in history. This was the first time that Lesnar and Hogan had met, and it made an impression. 12 years later, a more dramatic conflict would be set in motion by the consequences of that encounter in 2002. Both men's professions have changed dramatically by 2014. Lesnar returned to WWE as a part-time performer with unheard of power. After dominating the UFC and rising to the position of heavyweight champion in the world's top mixed martial arts organization. In contrast, Hogan had seen a number of unanticipated changes in his career path, including personal problems and his final exit from WWE on August 14, 2014. At a Monday Night Raw broadcast that was meant to be a celebration, the two men's greatest, real-life conflict broke out. To commemorate Hogan's 61st birthday, WWE planned a segment that brought together fans in wrestling, superstars to recognize one of the most recognizable names in the business. As the wrestling world honored his achievements in the sport, Hogan was surrounded by his family, including his wife and kids, creating a joyous mood. The evening's atmosphere drastically changed when Brock Lesnar showed up.
What you gonna do, Hulkster? Party's over, Grandpa.
Lesnar, accompanied by Paul Heyman, disrupted the birthday celebrations to disparage. Hulk Lesnar was riding high as WWE's most dominant and unpredictable performer after his unexpected triumph over The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, when he had stopped the legendary run. His confidence was at an all-time high as he prepared for another championship showdown at SummerSlam versus John Cena. Hulk didn't like the way Grandpa was being referred to. Several others, including Hogan, claimed that Lesnar went off script and insulted him personally, which went beyond what was appropriate for a professional setting, turning character effort into real disdain. The audience and the location were what gave this occasion its special significance. This was neither a normal wrestling promo nor a backstage segment. On his birthday, one of the biggest names in wrestling publicly degraded their patriarch in front of Hogan's family, which included his wife and kids. What should have been a celebration turned into an awkward confrontation because of the attack's personal character and the familial environment.
Cena! John Cena! We're about to see SummerSlam early! This is great!
Commentators and wrestling fans quickly learned of the tension at this point. It was a testament to the seriousness of the situation that Cena, who was supposed to take on Lesnar at the next pay-per-view, felt obliged to step in.
John Cena came to Brock Lesnar disrespectful as a kid. He came down here and intimidated every one of them, and he did it.
Hogan's single quotes as response to the event demonstrated how much the grandfather's remark impacted him. He expressed his real displeasure at Lesnar's actions in later interviews.
Shout out to Brock Lesnar. You know, every dog has his day. I'm not as good as I ever was, but I'm as good once as I ever was, or however those words go. So Brock Lesnar, you need to bite your tongue when you start throwing my name around.
He further went on to say,
shout out to Brock Lesnar. You know, every dog has his day. I'm not as good as I ever was, but I'm as good once as I ever was, or however those words go. So Brock Lesnar, you need to bite your tongue when you start throwing my name around.
The larger background of both men's occupations at this time added to the complexity of the situation. With previously unheard-of creative and financial authority, Lesnar rejoined WWE in 2012 and was able to function more as a special attraction than a regular performer. Few wrestlers had the respectability and power that his UFC success had given him, allowing him to push limits that others were unable to. Hogan was in a different stage of his career at the time. He was no longer the unchallenged icon he had been during the height of Hulkamania in the 1980s and 1990s, but he was still one of the most identifiable figures in wrestling. Younger wrestlers like Lesnar were part of a new generation that was not necessarily constrained by the same respect standards that had governed earlier periods as the wrestling profession had changed. The incident also brought attention to WWE's shifting power structures. Historically, veterans like Hogan would have had the political clout to confront such disrespect with on-screen reprisal or backstage channels. Normal wrestling politics, however, didn't always apply because of Lesnar's special place in the organization, his respectable fighting record, and his box office appeal. Examining Hogan's later attempts to resolve the issue made this power disparity even more obvious. His social media tweets and public remarks betrayed his irritation at not being able to reply in kind. Given their disparate career paths and WWE's booking interests, the conventional wrestling strategy of building toward a bout to resolve issues was not feasible. A more intricate pattern involving both guys would commence with this episode. Over the ensuing years, Hogan would publicly discuss wrestling Lesnar in a number of ways, which would heighten their already existing conflict. Lesnar would, however, continue his customary quiet, allowing his deeds to speak louder than his words. The Hogans are lying about the evil side of Hulk Hogan. We must now examine Hogan's inner life in order to have a fuller understanding of Brock's misgivings about him. We discover a record of deceit, scandals, and contentious actions that may help to explain why Lesnar treated him in this manner. Hogan's repeated lies about wrestling with Lesnar are a prime example. Hogan stated that he wrestled Lesnar immediately after leaving the UFC, that WWE gave him Lesnar first, and that he attempted to help him loosen up in the ring in interviews with TMZ Sports in 2025 and Joe Rogan's podcast in 2023.
Well, I got him first when he came back from the UFC, okay? And I was kind of like winding down, putting guys over and doing my thing. And Vince goes, I want you to work with Brock. I went, okay, well, when he came back from UFC, they gave him to me first, and he was really intense, brother.
This is the issue. This is utterly untrue. Before Lesnar even attended the UFC, Hogan and Lesnar only engaged in one match in 2002. John Cena, not Hogan, was Lesnar's first opponent when he rejoined WWE in 2012. Following his time in the UFC, Hogan wasn't even present when Lesnar returned, and his last fight was in January 2012. This is not a minor error. It's a purposeful deception meant to give Hogan a significant role in Lesnar's narrative. Fans of wrestling have criticized him for this, contrasting it with his other fictitious tales, such as 400 days of wrestling annually. Hogan has lied about his career for a long time. He said he was a devotee of Elvis Presley, but Elvis passed away shortly after Hogan's debut. Lars Ulrich refuted his claim that Metallica sought him as their bassist. Director Darren Aronofsky denied that he ever had an offer for the main part in The Wrestler, despite his claims to the contrary. However, the falsehoods regarding Lesnar are particularly instructive. They demonstrate Hogan's tendency to insinuate himself into popular narratives that are unrelated to him. Such conduct would be extremely offensive to someone such as Lesnar, who respects integrity and justifiable success. However, a closer examination of Hulk Hogan outside of his professional life would show an even more sinister side to him. Let's begin with the sex tape that he and Heather made in 2006. Hogan saw an opening right away and filed a lawsuit against the firm that released the tape, Gawker, which ultimately caused the company to go bankrupt and close. At first, Bubba was aware of Hulk having an affair with his wife and even supported it. However, Hulk was still taken by surprise when he seized control of the matter with a lawsuit and prevailed.
Really, at the end of the day, had an employee of mine not steal my surveillance, only 3 people to this day would still know about that event. And my life wouldn't have been ruined. My ex-wife wouldn't be considered a whore. And Hogan wouldn't have $141 million in his pocket. So, I mean, joke's on me, mother.
Joke's on me. Mother, I mean. Even though Hulk profited money from the sex scandal, the racial language he used in the audio of the tapes was what really destroyed it for him. Hogan frequently used the N-word when discussing his daughter Brooke's relationship with a black guy. He stated, "I guess we're all a little racist." In 2015, when this was released, whacked him right away and kicked him out of their Hall of Fame. Hogan's reputation was ruined by the racist remarks. He had been a family-friendly figure for decades, encouraging children to practice, pray, and take their vitamins. That image was totally destroyed when it was discovered that he harbored racist beliefs in private. Hogan expressed regret and placed the blame on his upbringing and difficult periods. "My life had reached its lowest point. My private life was ruined. My daughter made me very angry. Something that happened between her and her partner upset me. Furthermore, I was unaware that I was being filmed. After the story surfaced, he even admitted to feeling suicidal.
I was to the point where I wanted to kill myself. I sat in my bathroom by myself when my ex-wife was gone and the kids were gone, and I was completely broken and destroyed. And I said, what's the easiest way out of this? I mean, I was lost.
You were suicidal.
Yes, I was.
However, a lot of people interpreted this as damage control rather than sincere regret. His casual use of racial epithets implied that these were not isolated remarks, but rather a part of his everyday speech. Even after WWE reinstated him in the Hall of Fans in 2018, weren't amenable to fame. Crowds jeered him during wrestling matches, including a Netflix presentation in January 2025. People's perception of him had been irrevocably altered by the racist comments. The family of Hogan issues also exposed concerning conduct. In 2009, his 26-year marriage to Linda ended in a contentious divorce. Linda said he was a liar and a sex addict.
I have to be honest about what I went through in my marriage with Terry as Hulk Hogan, and what it entailed and what it has caused over the years and everything else. He's a complete liar. He is a sex addict.
Then she disclosed that Christiane Plant, who is friends with their daughter Brooke, was the object of Hulk's affair. While filming their reality show, Hogan Knows Best in 2007. The incident took place. Years of family issues resulted from this betrayal. Brooke cut off contact with both of her parents because she felt so ashamed. Hogan's domineering nature was shown on the reality show. He installed GPS trackers on Brooke's vehicle and threatened to sue those who were making her music videos. According to Linda, the cameras exacerbated their marital issues. Nick Hogan's son was racing when he crashed his father's Toyota Supra in 2007. John Graziano, his passenger, had irreversible brain injury and requires long-term care. Nick spent 8 months behind bars. The accident brought into question the Hogan families. Reckless culture. A public dispute with WCW booker Vince Russo resulted from Hogan's inflated ego. Russo criticized Hogan for not losing a match in a shoot promo he gave at an event in 2000.
Hey, let me tell you who doesn't give a shit about this company. That goddamn politician Hulk Hogan. Because let me tell you people what happened out here in this ring tonight. All day long I'm playing politics with Hulk Hogan.
Russo fired on, clearly enraged. And kiss my ass, you big bald son of a Hogan. Hogan decided to walk out and sue WCW for breach of contract as a result. WCW's financial difficulties, which ultimately led to its sale to WWE, were exacerbated by the litigation. However, Russo's tirade merely highlighted the annoyance that wrestling fans had with Hogan's behind-the-scenes politics. There were additionally grave accusations made against Hogan. At a WCW event in 1996, a woman accused him of sexual assault. The charge added to Hogan's already long series of scandals, even though he denied it and had an alibi. Not to mention that Hogan lied about using steroids. Hogan was accused of using steroids to bulk up his body in the early 1990s. On the Arsenio Hall show in 1993, he first denied frequent use, saying he only used steroids for a short time to heal from an injury. However, Hogan testified under immunity in 1994 during a federal prosecution against WWE promoter Vince McMahon for distributing steroids. He acknowledged using steroids for 14 years to keep his body in shape and sharing them with McMahon. When it was permitted, he later attempted self-defense.
Time when I got in the business, the guys were huge, larger than life, and the steroids were illegal at the time. But around 1988 or 1990, people got re-educated.
Hogan has been controversial lately. In 2024, while promoting his Real American Beer, Hogan made racially offensive comments toward Vice President Kamala Harris, including making jokes about body slamming her and raising doubts about her Indian heritage with antiquated preconceptions.
Body slam somebody? You want me to body slam Kamala Harris? I said, do you want me to body slam Kamala Harris? You want me to drop the leg on Kamala? Is Kamala a chameleon? Is she Indian? Okay, I like it.
Although Hogan would subsequently attribute his racist comments to booze, the harm had already been done. His remarks demonstrated that these viewpoints were not relics of the past. They remained a part of who he was. It's difficult to deny the reality when you add up all the scandals. Hogan's portrayal of himself as a patriotic, all-American hero was a front. Behind the scenes, he appeared to be self-centered, bigoted, cunning, and dishonest. In and out of the wrestling arena, he consistently put his ego before his morals, deceived his fans, and betrayed his family. It's easy to see that Lesnar saw through the charade, given what we now know. He knew the man in the red and yellow wasn't deserving of the deference he was demanding. And perhaps, just possibly, Lesnar was correct all along. An era's end and its implications for Hogan's death wrestling. Hulk Hogan died in Clearwater, Florida, on July 24, 2025. At the age of 71, at 11:17 a.m., he was declared dead at the hospital. After suffering a heart attack at home, his family characterized him as a legend who had impacted millions of admirers over more than 40 years. And police did not discover any evidence of foul play. When Hogan passed away, discussions concerning his legacy were still going strong. On January 6, 2025, he made his last appearance in a WWE video for the company's Netflix premiere. The response from the audience was clear. Alcohol mixed with cheers. His way of life continued to haunt him even after he passed away. However, the most revealing aspect of Hogan's death may be whoever remained silent did not speak. Brock Lesnar has not yet commented in public. In a sea of tributes, from icons like The Rock, The Undertaker, and Ric Flair, Lesnar's quiet is striking. This is nothing new. Brock remained silent when Hogan made up the story that he was scheduled to take on Lesnar following UFC. He refrained from arguing or pointing out the untruth. He simply said nothing. It could be referred to as privacy. Others believe it was a conscious decision, an ultimate determination of Lesnar's true feelings about Hogan. Many people think Lesnar's silence speaks louder than words, because of their chilly relationship and his well-known distaste. Lesnar has not released a statement, so wrestling fans are left to was it restraint? A final verdict question. Was it disdain? Based on their past, the majority tend to favor the latter. You must consider the whole picture in order to comprehend Hogan's role in wrestling history. He is renowned for his achievements in the ring. Everything changed on January 23, 1984, when Hulkamania was founded at Madison Square Garden following their victory over the Iron Sheik. Hogan became a pop culture figure thanks to his exaggerated persona, red and yellow outfit, and catchphrases like, "What are you going to do when Hulkamania goes crazy on you?" In 8 of the first 9 WrestleManias, he was the main attraction. Andre the Giant's body slamming was his most famous moment, made wrestling history during WrestleMania 3, which was attended by 93,000 fans. His main event match against Andre in 1988 drew 33 million people, setting a record that remains the most watched wrestling telecast ever. Hogan won 6 world titles before joining WCW in 1994. However, his 1996 heel turn and founding of the New World Order, or NWO, was what really caused the business to change once more. WCW dominated WWE in ratings for 83 weeks in a row, thanks to the plot. Although Hogan's influence cannot be denied, his daughter Brooke claims that life wasn't always simple for the Hulk. That, my opinion, is the aspect of fame that is most misinterpreted or misunderstood. Both of them were really impoverished, and my dad was particularly so. My mother in 2002, following his hiatus, Hogan made a comeback to the WWE and challenged The Rock at WrestleMania X8. The response from the audience demonstrated his enduring appeal. That year, he took home his 6th WWE Championship, when he last appeared in January 2025. He received conflicting responses, demonstrating the shift in his reputation. Hulk Hogan rose to fame in pop culture after Beyond the Ring. He, Beyond the Ring, starred in his own cartoon, had a reality TV show, and starred in movies including Rocky III and No Holds Barred. Not many wrestlers have made such a successful transition into popular entertainment. In addition to representing wrestling, he introduced it to American and international living rooms. Hogan's accomplishments in the ring were legendary. He won the WWE and WCW championships 6 times each. In 1990 and 1991, he became the first wrestler to win consecutive Royal Rumble titles. He received 2 inductions into the WWE Hall of Fame, both as a founding member of the NWO and for his solo career. Entire wrestling eras were defined by his actions, such as leading the NWO or smashing Andre the Giant. Hogan was instrumental in transforming conclusion wrestling from a specialized local sport into a worldwide sensation. WrestleMania became a cultural event thanks to its marketability and extravagant persona. By creating morally complex characters and obfuscating the distinction between hero and villain, the NWO storyline in the late 1990s revolutionized wrestling narrative. It's possible that wrestling's rise to prominence would never have occurred without Hogan, but the same legendary character who helped to create wrestling's heyday also brought controversies that tarnished his reputation. Racist comments, private scandals, self-centered choices, and broken relationships revealed a private guy very different from the beloved red and yellow superhero. Legends like The Rock, The Undertaker, and Ric Flair lauded his impact, but others discreetly avoided him. Hulk's influence is undeniable as the wrestling community comes to terms with his passing. That impact, however, is multi-layered, ranging from heroic to disgraceful, then to iconic to contentious. For better or worse, wrestling will never be the same without Hulk Hogan. Click on any of the cards on your screen to view additional material if you liked this video.